Hi, and welcome to the show. Well, today we have a serious topic, and it's one I'm sure you are interested in, you want to know more about. I have with me Mandy Gawf and Shauna Williams from YCAP, and we're going to talk about the point-in-time homeless count. Thanks so much for being here.
Hi, Ken. Thank you.
And Mandy, what do you do at YCAP?
So I'm the Client Services Coordinator at YCAP.
Client Services. Tell me a little bit more about that.
So I just oversee day-to-day operations of our housing, homeless services programs, and our financial assistance programs.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a big job. We enjoy it, though.
Okay, and Shauna, what do you do?
I'm the lead case manager at YCAP.
So tell me more.
I work specifically with the homeless prevention and shelter diversion clients that we have, and then I work with the other case managers to assist them in kind of, the different programs and what they may need kind of help with.
So your case managers are meeting with people, and you're meeting with your case managers to help them do the best job they can in getting those people what they need.
Yes, partially. I also meet with some clients too, so.
You do have your own
Yes,
caseload, too.
yes.
Well, let people see this right between you here. What's the sign about?
So coming up on January 30th, we have the Point-in-Time Homeless Count. And it's an annual event. It happens all across the nation. YCAP leads the event for Yamhill County. And it's always on the last Wednesday in January. And essentially, it's a day where we go out, we conduct surveys all over Yamhill County, we have meaningful conversations with people experiencing homelessness, and all of that data goes into a local report, and it's actually put into a national report that's presented to Congress every year.
Well, I did just Google point-in-time homeless count report, and you can pull, it'll come up, and might put in YCAP in Yamhill County. And there it is, and evidently you wrote that, Mandy.
Yes, so, I mean, it's information we gathered as a team and put together as a department.
And you've been doing this for how long?
Well, YCAP's been doing it for 10 years.
10 years.
Since the count was instituted by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. YCAP has been leading it for Yamhill County.
And has the report looked similar all 10 years, or is this something you've put your stamp on?
Well, we try to, as a team, we try to make it, try to do new, innovative things every year, try to get better at counting all our different subpopulations. So we try new things every year. So I think every year we try to make the report a little more detailed, more informative for our community.
I'm not sure that you counted this from the beginning, but perhaps unaccompanied minors, or even minors, homeless minors that are parenting. Are these new statistics, or are these things you were counting from the beginning?
Well, YCAP has a youth outreach department, and they have provided services to runaway and homeless youth for a long time. So that work has been going on with that population. That's been a subpopulation as far back as I can remember that has been important.
I think the new forms that they've come out with is the last couple years, but before that it was certainly noted that that was a population that wanted to be looked at closer.
It's noted, and now you're doing that, because I have kind of noticed a focus on that and more breakdown of that data. And Shauna, what's your part in the homeless count?
In the homeless count for this year, I'm mostly working with the kind of agencies, the different people that we work with to get people on the street on the day of the event so that we can ensure that we get an accurate count of what this community has going on. So I've set up drop sites we have 13 different drop sites in every community except for Yamhill, which is sharing with Carlton. We have street teams that will go out there, so we've set up that. I've worked with agencies to make sure that they get the forms that they need to work that out with their clients. So I've kind of done some of the groundwork for it.
Now, I'd like to unpack a lot of what you just said. Let's start with agencies that you work with. Tell us more about what that looks like.
We really try to work with agencies that may see our population on a more regular basis than we do, especially for maybe couch surfing or precariously housed families, households. So we're working with mental health, DHS. We work with the jail, which is always interesting to people that we're able to go into the jail and actually count the people who identify as homeless while they're in that situation. So each year we try to reach out to as many as we can, and we've been very lucky that we've had so much positive response, I think, from our agencies locally who want to be able to join in with us and make sure we get the most accurate count.
Okay, that's a lot of work. Then you said that you set up the drop sites. Tell us more about these drop sites.
The drop sites are for the actual day of the event, January 30th, and each community, like I said, will have a drop site. So here in McMinnville, we start at First Presbyterian at 9 a.m. and it goes until 2. And then at 2 till 6, it'll be at St. Barnabas. And that means that anyone can come in, they can get food, they can get survival supplies, and they can get counted on that day. So we know that that day they have somewhere to go to be able to get their voice heard. And in each community, there'll be one of those places to go.
I'm curious, can you characterize, it's probably hard to, but the people coming in that are homeless, yes, they want to receive some help, but are they really there to be counted often, or do they care?
I think a lot of times people don't spend time speaking with homeless people.
Yes.
And I think that it's a great opportunity for them to come in and share what maybe their concerns are, what their dreams are, what their thoughts are for their own lives. It's not up to us to always have the solutions for them. So I think there are a lot of homeless people, in my experience, who've come in and sat with me for an hour and told me what their life's like and what they think might help. There are certainly people who come in and want supplies, and that's okay too. It's up to them. So I think it kind of depends on each person, but certainly I have found many homeless people who are excited to have the chance to talk about things.
Well, that's quite an opportunity for them to feel like somebody cares, that they are being heard, because it must be very difficult to be homeless, to be disconnected in that way, and this represents perhaps a path to a connection of some sort. And then you talked about volunteers. You coordinate the volunteers. So wait a minute. You coordinate all the services.
Yes.
You coordinate all the sites.
Yes.
And then you coordinate the volunteers.
I did not coordinate the volunteers. Christina Buck did
this
that
year.
this
But
year.
you-
I have in the past worked on that, but look, I got to work with Christina. She's a YCAP employee, and she was able to reach out to so many people and get them on board and kind of set them for each site. So we have people who will go to the drop sites. We have people who will go onto street teams and actually go out onto the street and talk to people who are just out on the streets and visit sites maybe where people are at. And we've got people who drive around early in the morning, so I've been working with her on that. So I want to give her full credit for getting all of those volunteers. I don't want to take that from her.
Well, you just named 3 different kinds of volunteers. People that would stay at a drop site, just wait for people to come in. Then there's street teams that are out actively noticing someone that that appears to be homeless and walking up to them. And it's not just like, okay, guy in blue hat and then, person in with dog and yellow sweater. You want to get as much information from them. There's quite a form. Can you tell us about that? Maybe that's what you designed.
Yeah. So we use the same form around the nation. We add a couple extra questions on information that we find helpful. But we have a training for all our volunteers. So anyone who's going to be in a drop site or on a street team, they're going to go through a safety training. They're going to be taught how to fill out that form, because it is kind of like a street research survey. At the end of the day, we use the data. So everyone's conducting the form in the same way. We teach people how to have a conversation that gets the data instead of just, checking boxes. So we're there to have a meaningful conversation too with the folks we encounter. So, if it's safe and the person wants to participate, then they do go up and approach that person. We use terminology like might be homeless. So we let them identify if they consider themselves to be homeless. We don't just say, hey, you look, So they're going around, they're having tactful, meaningful conversations. And so we put a lot of emphasis on the training piece so our volunteers feel prepared, comfortable, safe. All of that's important.
Do you model that in your training? Do you get people some practice? So let's do that, okay? So you're a person that's going to be,
I can be the client, the homeless person.
and you're going to be the
Sure.
the volunteer that has the form, and you're going to approach this person. Can you see it? What would that look like?
Hi, I'm a volunteer with the Homeless Count. We're out doing surveys today with folks who might be homeless. Would you have a few minutes to take a survey with us?
Can you tell me what this would be used for? I don't know if I really want to share my information
Sure.
with you.
So the homeless count, we do an anonymous survey. We keep it confidential. It just helps us understand people who are experiencing homelessness locally. We use the information to help us better understand what's going on and get resources.
So it's something that could help me. You guys could help me maybe find somewhere to live.
Yeah, we're happy to talk to you today about anything you might need. And the information does go to provide more local resources.
Okay. I'd like to talk to you.
And then there's a list of 10 questions?
I think
It can take
there's
a
like
while.
25 questions.
25.
25 to 30 questions. But again, we try to get the story. So we say, can you tell me a little bit about your situation? And from that question, depending on how much they want to share, that'll give you a good portion of what you need. And then we can go back. It does ask detailed information about disabilities and how long someone's experienced homelessness, why they're in that situation, because that's all really useful information for planning and understanding what's going on. But of course, they can refuse any question that makes them uncomfortable. We never push the survey on anyone. And we just try to have a conversation and be people to people.
Now, there's someone that's an outreach person at YCAP, Cassie, and that's her job every day is to approach people.
Yeah.
I would think she would know half of these people by name by now. I mean, she's been doing this for years, right?
She's been with us just over a year, I think.
Over a year.
But she's on our planning team, actually, for the point in time.
So she's a wealth of information on how to do this because she's been on the ground for a year.
Yeah, so YCAP, both our client services and our youth outreach department has had street outreach services for many years. So we have an understanding of where folks are staying. We use that information to build maps for our street teams. So they're not just wandering around looking for folks. We have locations.
I was on an early homeless count, and we did some wandering around, and we were just walking down by streams over by Willamina, and just kind of where people have been reported to be, but we were just kind of winging it.
Sure.
It sounds like you're much more, I don't know, you have good data, more helpful data now on where to.
I think it's that getting better year by year, knowing
Yeah.
kind of what we can do to make it easier for our clients to come talk to us.
Yeah.
And, I think that street teams can always be, if somebody wants to be talked to, then they will. And if they don't, then maybe they're not where they're supposed to be at that time or where we think they'll be. But I think the important thing, like Mandy said, is that, client services has Cassie and she's amazing and she goes out every day and talks to people. But all the case managers go out with her on a regular basis. So it
They
gives,
do?
yes, so it gives kind of all of us a chance to go out and meet our community. We know who people are, it makes it easier for people to feel comfortable with us and to talk to us about things.
It sounds like it's a developing community in a sense that you're getting more and more community with these people over time. And I imagine there's new folks and people get housed, but it changes, but slowly.
Yeah, and I think it's recognizing that sometimes the folks that may need services the most may never come into our office. And so, like I said, youth outreach has been doing outreach with runaway homeless youth for many years. And then more recently, in the past few years, the client services has added that to working with adults. So we've been excited to develop street outreach. It's something that I think is essential for working with people experiencing homelessness. And as Shauna said, all our case managers are cross-trained. So Cassie's our main outreach specialist. We have that position built in. And then we cross-train all our case managers to go out with her because like I said, it's people who may never come into our office.
Well, you seem very well connected with the population, with the homeless population, as much as, you've been at it in just every creative way you can be. And I'm just delighted to hear all this. You sound very prepared for this, which is coming up on the 31st, right?
30th.
The
30th,
30th,
yes.
okay. Well, we have great services here in reaching out to the homeless people. We have, tell me, confirm this or not, but I've heard that we have higher homeless population proportion per capita is greater than Portland. Whether it's true or not, there's a sense that we got a lot of homeless people here, and maybe it's because we provide all these services. You know, if you build it, they will come. What about that?
Well, that's definitely a misconception that we've heard. That's something we have heard around and we looked into. So as I said, we do street outreach. So one thing that we wanted to try to do is find out if that's actually true. So some time ago, we started conducting surveys with folks who were experiencing homelessness on the streets all throughout Yamhill County. And what we found was that on average, most people experiencing homelessness in Yamhill County have lived in Yamhill County for an average of 20 years. So they may not have been homeless that whole time, but for the folks that we surveyed that were homeless, they lived in Yamhill County for an average of 20 years, showing some long-term residency. You know, people who have been part of this community for a long time.
And you brought a poster along that line.
I did, yeah. So our department, the Client Services and Housing Department at YCAP, we thought that information was really interesting, given the misconceptions we'd been hearing around. So we made a poster, we hung them up around Yamhill County so folks could be aware of the information. And so our street outreach teams collected that data for us. And it really, it was surprising to us too. It was good to confirm that, you know, those are misconceptions about the population.
Okay. Well, you brought some other pictures along, and just to give people an idea of what it looks like. What have we got there, Caroline? So these are volunteers.
So those are staff at our youth outreach department.
Okay, and the dog is what part of the program?
He is part of the staff at the youth outreach department, and he got his own vest.
He's got his vest on for the
You'll
homeless
see our
count.
volunteers wearing those bright yellow vests. They say "Everyone Counts Yamhill" on the back, which is our hashtag for the event.
Everyone counts Yamhill. All right.
We have, that's the American Legion. They're going to be our veteran site. They're hanging the flyer there proudly.
Oh, the one just out 3 Mile Lane here.
Yes.
Okay.
McMinnville American Legion.
Uh-huh.
That's Bailey's Nursery. The staff, they have collected a lot of survival aid at all their locations. They came to drop it off. So we did that.
That is quite a crew.
Yes.
A lot of
We've
people.
had our case managers go out in our vests too. That's one of our case managers.
Case managers, okay.
That's our group of staff going out on last year's count. That's one of our social work interns with a community volunteer. They were on the Lafayette Street team. So
And the
they're,
clipboards there are where the questions are that you're
Yes.
filling out,
and
the
they're
maps.
looking at the maps for
Uh-huh.
our street teams. That's one way that we're outreaching for the event. It has our hashtag.
Everyone
Their
counts,
bracelets
yeah.
we are giving out throughout the county. Lots of bracelets that we're giving out.
Mm.
And that is our logo for the event and our theme behind the event.
That is great.
And volunteers, that was First Presbyterian site here in McMinnville.
So that was a drop-in site, First Press. It is this
Yes.
time from
Yes.
10 to 2, you said?
From 9 to 2, they have
From
a
9 to
breakfast.
2.
Yes.
Oh, breakfast,
Mhm. Yes.
okay.
Yes, our youth outreach staff from last year. Youth outreach also does great go bags, so we try to give everyone, like I said, something to walk away with.
Mhm.
A snack,
At the drop-in
food,
sites.
yes.
There's food.
There's either going to be food or snacks available, and that's the youth outreach breakfast bags.
That was our veteran site last year. Like I said, we try to focus on that population. It's one of our subpopulations, so we have a special site for them with
So-
veteran service providers.
And the veteran site, this count is at the American Legion.
Correct.
And they are doing a buffet, so I think it's going to be more of an all-day thing, so.
Yes,
It's going to be a
they're
really-
9 to 2.
The women's auxiliary people there are really doing a great job at putting together something special.
So we have socks. That brings us to what you've been talking about, Shauna, is the things that you offer. And these are survival.
Yes, like Mandy said, there's survival supplies. the things
Supplies,
that
yeah.
people need. We always kind of joke, what do people want the most? It's always socks.
Yeah.
People want clean socks. They don't have somewhere to wash them, and they're on
And
their
dry
feet.
them.
Yes, so we collect socks. We do tarps. We do day passes for the bus. We do some food packs. This year, we're kind of looking at some other options that we may be able to do to kind of help people in RVs and things like that. So we try to be creative, and we've had some really great response from the community members. We were able to put barrels out and work with some businesses. So like Wings and Waves did an amazing job, gave discounts to be able to collect items there at the, over by Evergreen.
So they said if you bring something to put in this barrel, we will give you a
Oh,
discount.
yes, they were like, if you bring a whole rain suit, we'll give you 15% off. If you,
Yeah.
and so they were amazing. Bailey's, Megget, Providence, Bimart, Walmart have all done amazing jobs with putting barrels where they are and letting their employees and customers come in and fill them. Local churches have done the same. So we're always truly thankful for that because it allows us to make kind of these boxes of things to be able to take with us to these drop sites and offer to people what they may need the most.
Now, the outreach team is doing that constantly during the year, and it's Cassie and someone goes with her is doing this, and she's helping people get what they need, but she's also directing them as part of her job to direct people to what they may be, to determine what services they may be, may help them, and to kind of direct them there. Is that her job?
Yeah, so outreach, essentially, it's to reach the folks that may never come into our office.
I see.
And seek services.
Yeah.
So we try to have our outreach teams do everything as mobily as possible. So they're giving out survival aid throughout the year, but they can also do our shelter intakes, our housing assessments, one-time financial assistance, help with IDs, you name it, we've
All
pretty
different
much
things.
done it, snack packs, laundry cards. So we try to, have really the items that we know people really need. And of course, they're always limited, but our outreach teams are doing that throughout the year. And then the homeless count is our day to bring in community members to do a huge push to really engage a lot of folks.
Well, let's talk about that. You have, we were chatting before, you have 60 people signed up.
We're thinking 70 right now.
You got 70,
Yes.
but you can use some more.
There is always a need, I think, if someone really wants to be involved, to call. There's ways that we can work with people to, even if they can't do something that day. I know for that day right now, we're really looking for people who are early morning people that are willing to be up super early in a car, 5 a.m. maybe,
Yeah.
and driving around. They don't need to get out of their car. They don't need to approach anyone, but just kind of look and see where people are. Do they see any signs of maybe someone sleeping in a car or someone in a tent, maybe that has moved it by the time the rest of us are up and kind of going on our way.
So they would be given maybe an area to go look at and take notes and get that back to,
Just back to our department.
Yes.
Back to the department.
We use it as anecdotal evidence.
which might be used later in the day, though?
It can be, we can,
Yeah, and we use it to count that population that's up and out of their sleeping areas by
I
the time
see.
our state outreach team may get
Yeah,
there.
okay.
The folks who may be working and living in their car,
Mhm.
who may not come in for services or want to be counted. So it's just a way to say, hey, there's this other population that's kind of hidden.
So if somebody wanted to volunteer, they would just call YCAP and say, hey, I want to volunteer for the homeless count, and they would get routed to,
yes, they would get rounded to Christina Buck, but as long as they let the front desk know, they would be okay. They could get where they needed to go. They can contact anyone really in our department, but Mandy or me, and we can get them to the right person.
okay. Well, we're filming this today on the 15th, I think, and so there's 2 weeks, so people, it's not too late, even if you've been, it's not the 15th when your people are watching this, they can call up. And when is the training?
The training will be the 22nd, which is next Tuesday, and the
Okay.
23rd. But I think also if people are just aware that this is something they're interested in, we do this every year. There's always an opportunity to get in touch with us and learn how to volunteer with our department. And it helps us be more prepared for next year. If we know we have this group of people who want to come in and volunteer, we're like, wait, what amazing thing can we do now that will reach this many more people because we know we have this group willing to do this.
So Mandy, this, all this data will help you write your report. Great. But that's probably not the only result of all this. Why
Right.
does it matter?
So like I said, it goes into a national report, it goes to Congress, they make funding decisions based on it, but also locally, we've used the information to plan, if there's a subpopulation, like last year we saw there's a lot of unaccompanied youth, especially ages 18 to 24. So we use that information to write a grant for federal funds and received a grant that we implemented this year. It's a new housing program for youth 18 to 24 who are living on the streets or in their car, literally homeless.
Let's make that distinction right now. Literally homeless is on the street or in a car, but not couch surfing.
Right.
literally homeless. If you're couch surfing, you're homeless, but not literally homeless.
Yeah, so for the
is
count,
distinction.
we do count couch surfers, we call them doubled up.
Yes.
We also count people who are living in shelters throughout the county. We work with all the shelters to count folks living in those beds on the night of the count. And then unsheltered would be people living in cars, RVs with no hookups, people literally camping, abandoned buildings, those kind of things. So that's what that housing program was for those 18 to 24-year-olds. And we got that funding because we were able to demonstrate through homeless count numbers that that was a population that we had a significant number.
And you put that funding to work and you house some people because of the report.
Correct. The year before, we used the numbers to get additional funding to house chronically homeless individuals, which are individuals who have a disability and have been homeless at least a year. So, you know, they.
So let's
Yeah.
just, we went over that real fast. This was news to me. What is a chronically homeless individual? So spread that out a little bit more, a few more sentences.
So people who are chronically homeless, first, they have a disabling condition. It could be a physical health condition, chronic health, mental health, developmental disability, things of that nature. And they've been homeless at least 12 months, or at least on 4 different occasions equaling 12 months.
In the past 3 years.
Yes. So it's kind of a technical definition, but really, at the end of the day, it's people that have, their experience with homelessness has not been rare and brief. You know, we hope that most episodes of homelessness are rare and brief in one time, but there's sometimes people, for whatever reason, variety of reasons, get caught into long-term homelessness. And we saw that was a significant population in the point in time.
A percentage approximately of chronically homeless?
Well, we counted 114 people last year experiencing chronically homeless on that one day in January.
Out of the 1386.
Yes.
So that's less than 10%.
We know that that's a snapshot, though.
Yes. I'm thinking that's good news, that it's less than 10% are
Sure,
chronically
sure.
homeless. However, they're probably some of the most difficult people to house because their problems are not brief.
Yeah, I mean, we have research that shows the longer that you spend homeless, the more resources it takes to establish housing again. So, I mean, our goal is always to prevent homelessness, which is what Shauna works on. So we've put a lot of effort into trying to stop people from sliding into homelessness in the first place. But when it does happen, engaging those folks who have been on the streets for a long time, that's really where street outreach comes in.
Shauna, this is a really interesting topic on trying to prevent homelessness. A big reason I hear people are homeless, they have a medical event that renders them penniless, and boom, they're homeless and they're sick. How can we prevent that? What do you do about that?
I think there's lots of different ways that we can work with someone to try to find a solution to either staying in their home or finding, someplace else that they can go that's safe and stable for them. I do a lot of eviction, prevention. So someone may come in and say, I had a heart attack and I'm out of work for 2 months and I can't pay this back amount, but I'm going back to work and I'm scared because I'm about to lose my home. So I work with them. How do we work with the landlord so that maybe we can pay this back amount and get them back on track where they need to be? These are kind of people you'll see once and that's it. But it keeps them in their home. Or it may look like finding a relative who can help care for them, or a facility that can help care for them if that's a medical condition that's going to continue on. Maybe, does someone qualify for any housing programs? Is there something through Section 8 that we can get them on? So it's looking at all those different options that, you'd like to think that we would all think of in that situation, but maybe we don't. It kind of helps to have someone on the outside say, hey, have you thought about this, or this, to either stay where you are or to go somewhere safe. So that's usually what I try to do with people.
All right. Well, we've covered a lot of ground. I have you on the show so that you can say to the people of the community what you think is important for them to hear. Have we missed it? What do you want to talk about right now? We're just got 30 seconds left. Wrap it up for us.
I think we could just end by, our theme is hashtag everyone counts Yum Hill. So we're actually going to give you a bracelet to wear. We've got our bracelets.
Thank you.
And we just want to emphasize that everyone counts in our community, and that's really what this event is about.
All right. Well, thank you for the work that you do and the dedication to doing it and for being here to help share it with the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.